In this short video, we are going to discuss and illustrate accessibility in sports and recreation. To understand accessibility issues in sport and recreation, you have to first understand the different types of disabilities. First, we have physical disabilities. Physical disabilities are usually visually apparent. Physical disabilities typically limit an individual's mobility or their physical functioning. Some examples of physical disabilities include people with visual impairments, with mobility limitations, such as those who have experienced a spinal cord injury, or those who are hearing impaired or deaf. There are also cognitive disabilities. Cognitive disabilities can affect intellectual, emotional, social, and physical capabilities. These types of disabilities are not always as apparent as physical ones. Examples of cognitive disabilities include autism spectrum disorder, motor delays such as developmental coordination disorder, and Down syndrome. These two types of disabilities are not always segregated. Sometimes cognitive and physical disabilities are linked. Down syndrome is an example of both types of disability. These are just a few examples of the thousands of disabilities in the world today, as it would be impossible to address them all. Each disability is accompanied by unique barriers to physical activities that make it challenging or even impossible to take part in certain activities. For example, someone with mobility limitations requiring a wheelchair may find facilities inaccessible and unaccommodating. Some facilities may only have stairs instead of ramps or elevators. Doors can be challenging to open, or spaces such as weight rooms or washrooms may be small and difficult to navigate. The facility environment may also pose challenges for someone with autism, for example. The harsh lighting, crowded, noisy spaces may be extremely overstimulating for someone with a cognitive impairment such as autism. An individual who is visually impaired may require support aids such as handrails. However, not all facilities may offer this type of equipment. Programming can be another barrier for these disabilities. An individual with a motor delay may be unable to find appropriate assistance to help them engage in recreational activities. Individuals who are deaf may also suffer from inaccessibility due to poor communication in sports clubs. This could include insufficient communication from faculty staff, teammates, or coaches. Someone with Down syndrome may feel excluded from traditional programming or sports league, as they are often not given the opportunity to participate, and thus are excluded from physical activities. These examples just scratch the surface of the barriers that exist for those with disabilities. When looking at the barriers, it becomes evident that people are actually more disabled by their environment than by the disability itself. Perhaps disability in sport actually stems from the structure of the facilities, equipment, and programming. Many could argue then that disability is actually a social construct. So the next question is, how do we break down this social construct? Since we've already identified the limitations to sport and recreation, we can also identify ways to overcome these barriers. When it comes down to it, the key is to create an environment that is accessible for everyone. We have subcategorized accessibility into three areas: build and amenities and accessible features, equipment and modifications, and finally, programming. A building's amenities are a crucial part of accessibility, as it can become the first barrier to those with physical disabilities. Some recreational facilities have taken accessibility into consideration with their building design. Some accessible features include automatic doors, wide doorways, ramps, and elevators. Large change rooms and washrooms also make facilities easy to navigate for those with transport aids like wheelchairs or walkers. For those with certain cognitive disabilities, such as autism, it is important for facilities to have spaces that are less stimulating. Some features of these spaces include secluded or enclosed areas that are away from crowds and loud noises. These areas may also have dimmer lighting to reduce sensory stimulation. Another factor that contributes to accessibility are equipment modifications. Equipment modifications could include specialized athletic equipment, facility equipment, or even public recreational structures. One example of equipment modifications pertaining to the visual impaired is to use balls with bells inside when playing sports like soccer. If facilities have proper equipment to assist someone with a disability, it makes the services more available to more people. An example of this would be having a chairlift for the swimming pool with staff trained on how to use it. It is important to make public areas disability friendly. Public parks, for example, could implement wheelchair accessible equipment such as swings. This allows for those with disabilities to participate in everyday recreation. By supplying efficient equipment, those with disabilities have better opportunities for participation. Another extremely important factor in accessibility is programming. This could include sports programs, fitness programs, or even organizations that are eager to improve accessibility within their programs. Wheelchair Sports Alberta is a non-profit organization that organizes provincial-level programs and services across the province. Taking Strides is another non-profit that pairs a student volunteer with a child with a disability. Together, the pair will work to develop the child's motor and social skills in a safe environment. Although there are several organizations and volunteers to work with people with disabilities, at the end of the day, programming should center around inclusion. Promoting inclusion in regular sports programming and activities makes the opportunities limitless for everyone. There are obviously a variety of ways to overcome disability barriers, so it is feasible to get everyone involved and participating in physical activities regardless of the cognitive or physical ability. Just by learning about disability and gaining a better understanding of the barriers, we can break down the social construct of disability and provide more opportunities for all.